Hamatakwepe, Mimalakota.
Because I can use you to prove to the raging atheist that atheism is foolishness.
Yeah, that's been the overwhelming consensus, actually. Trust me, on the inside, I was screaming.
Oh, I'm sure. Do it with Arn Ra. I mean, he would be the perfect person to talk about evolution with you, I think.
Well, I'd love to talk to Arn Ra about evolution and creation and stuff, but I just don't think it would go too well based on the fact that he's always interrupting his opponents.
Matt's not that bright. He's just not that bright.
So welcome, Sai. If you want to give a brief introduction of yourself, I'm sure folks here are fairly familiar with you.
Well, thanks for having me on. And I'm a retired research scientist.
Me and you're gonna be best friends.
What's up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you beautiful blasphemous people. Welcome back to The Rage. This is Seeing Red. Allie's here. What's up, Allie?
Hey, Nox. So, yeah, welcome, guys. Warning, you may or may not be able to hear voices in the background of my microphone that I'm unable to hear. And the reason for this is that we determined, like my friend and I who play Minecraft together at night have determined that one of my neighbors is a CV radio hobbyist. And he likes to turn his radio on sometime between 6 and 8 my time, which unfortunately is when we stream. Not heard it earlier. You may hear it periodically. People have, like, the people that play Minecraft with me have nicknames for the guys. I'm going to try to mute when I'm not talking, but you guys might hear it, and I've got no control over that.
I think
so
he's
I'm
in
sorry
the CIA.
about that.
I think you got some, like, or maybe not CIA. Do you got a militia there? I think you got some Republicans talking to each other about how they're going to overthrow your liberal fucking government, and we're picking it up through you're picking it up through your microphone, and I can hear it on my headphones. And I have to say real quick before you respond to that, oh, SJ, like, why you gotta steal my thunder and stream past your bedtime, SJ?
So, like, legitimately, the guy does actually seem to be a Democrat, weirdly enough. He was talking about how Trump was worse, but Uncle Joe is handsy.
So, yeah,
like, he called him
CIA
handsy Uncle Joe. But yeah, no, he's a radio hobbyist from what I've been told, because again, I cannot hear a word of this. Like, my mic picks it up, not my headphones. I
heard it earlier
know.
before the show, y'all, and I'm like, Allie, can you hear that? And she's like, no, I don't hear anything. And I'm like, maybe my microphone is picking somebody up talking on the phone in the apartment above me or something. And she's like, no, remember, Knock, I told you this might happen.
So yeah, we're, again, I'm gonna try to mute when I'm not talking, so y'all don't have to hear whatever the fuck, like, again, they call them Joe and Simon. We have no idea what their names are, but that's the nicknames that the guys have given them. If you guys hear them over me, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, we have no clue why my Yeti seems to pick up CV radio signals, but one of my neighbors clearly has a fairly powerful CV radio, and occasionally talks about stuff like police broadcasts and things, according to my friends who listen in when we play Minecraft. So anyway, welcome to the stream and all of the madness. This may or may not happen periodically. I have no idea if it'll still happen in my basement, but while I'm still stuck up in my bed.
So maybe I caught like the tail end of his. Maybe he was talking to a trucker or something. We used to do that in North Carolina. We thought that kind of shit was fun. Don't grow up redneck, people.
Well, and this guy is like, he's a hardcore hobbyist from what people were talking about. Like, he was talking about how to build them and stuff the other day, according to Nate. So, like, I don't bloody know.
I mean, it's got to be some powerful shit if you're picking it up through your headphone, and I'm hearing it here in Michigan. So,
well, I appear to be picking it up through my Yeti, because again, I can't hear it. Like, I've never heard it. It's just everybody Yetis, who talks to me cans.
They're not a joke, dude. Like, I've had this thing for like maybe 4 years now. I've never had an issue with it. I'm thinking about buying a new microphone, but I didn't because I'm like, this thing still works. It's like old, but it still works.
So welcome back, guys. We've got some interesting news for you tonight. I had reached out to a friend of mine on the lefty sphere to come and talk about some COVID stuff and how it's affecting his community. Unfortunately, he has not gotten back to me yet, or I got his email wrong or something. So I'm going to be reaching out to another mutual friend to be like, hey, did the guy get it or not? I've noticed that he has been up in the comments section recently. He went and checked out the Protect the Sacred videos. So we're hoping to see him soon.
I wish more people would. You know, like I put the popular video section back on the channel right before we started streaming, and I was watching one of my older videos, and yeah, I wish I could catch. I wish I could catch that algorithm like I used to, because I was a much smaller channel getting much bigger views, and it was, I had shitty shit back then. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, that's also before they started suppressing the word atheist.
Yeah, I've just got to figure it all out. But I mean, it's just crazy. So
hey, you know, we've had fairly.
I just don't get it, because like it was a much shittier channel, but like I mean, I'm not, when I say more views, I'm talking like, you know, like the Evangelical Rapist is over 31,000 views now, and it's like maybe one of the worst videos I ever fucking made.
Yeah, I guess that, yeah, but again, the algorithm was a lot less picky. They didn't care about swearing back then. They didn't care about monetization near as much.
Like, I don't know if you saw it, like, just like 4 days ago, the indoctrination of Catherine Grove, I made that 2 years ago. It was ranked 3rd on our most watched videos for the channel for that week. So it's like those, somehow those videos still tickle the algorithm, and they still get watched.
Well, once it hooks into
it's really
them,
weird.
They stay,
it's fucking weird, dude.
Once it hooks into them, they stay there, and that's kind of the problem. Is it either hooks them or it doesn't, and if it does, then it stays there forever. But anyway, coming back to things. By the way, Marty, I'm sorry to hear about your husband. I hope that it's not COVID. I hope against hope, because that's some scary shit if it comes into your house. Like, make sure that if it is COVID, make sure you're working with a care team that's willing to monitor you, because that stuff can get really nasty really fast.
Yeah, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, Marty. And yes, Todd F., I am a Michigan Wolverines fan. Unfortunately, Jim Harbaugh hasn't been what we thought he would be. But he's learning. He's learning the Michigander way. So, you know, yeah.
All right, so coming back to the news, you had a quick update that you kind of wanted to give that we were talking about this morning regarding Tara Reid in the New York Times, because we did a stream about that a little while ago, and then we were going to jump into Mr. Moneybags himself, the fucking pastor who got arrested for begging for people's checks.
Yeah, like, well, you know, because quite a few people have reached out to me and thanked me for my position on, even though I'm voting for Joe Biden, I'm not going to come down on anybody not doing so. And I've caused some flack for my position on Tara Reid. But as I said from that stream, and I think I've been proven fairly fucking accurate, that since Bernie has opted out, that now we're starting to learn more and more. And it seems like her story is really, really legitimate. And the Biden camp's freaking out. And just today, Chris Hayes was talking about it, and now the hashtag Fire Chris Hayes is up for some fucking reason. And I don't know, like, are the moderate Democrats, are the establishment Democrats the new Tea Party? Because it seems like to me that they are trying to nominate people to lose to Donald Trump. And it's disgusting. And anybody that speaks out against that is labeled as some traitor, and they're trying to elect Donald Trump, when it seems to me that it's the moderates and the establishment that are trying to elect Donald Trump. I'll let you talk for a minute.
Well, and I mean, here's my struggle with this entire thing. Personally, you guys all heard me. I was very much, I'm not a Bernie or Buster, but I was very much a Bernie supporter. During his first run, I did voter registration at HempFest, and I did like bannering on the bridges, like in Seattle above the highway. I did a little bit of door-to-door type work. I never did phone banking, but that's because Knock, you forgot to change it.
No, like, I totally didn't know, but you know what? We're running in an old stream, so this old stream must be before I changed it back. So,
or it could be that, I streamed from your account through StreamYard on
the other night.
Tuesday.
You changed my shit again, Allie, and you didn't tell me.
Troll low by accident, I guess. Coming back to Tara Reid, my position during the whole stream that you ended up doing with Nathaniel, which this is nothing against him whatsoever, but it has always been that every allegation by anybody should be thoroughly investigated. And the initial investigation by the Washington Post found that none of her co-witnesses, except for her brother that she had named in her interview, had corroborating evidence. But recently with the New York Times, apparently her neighbor came out and corroborated her story in addition to her brother.
There are 4 people that have corroborated her story now in legitimate ways. Her neighbor, when you say her neighbor, that kind of implies it's her neighbor now. No, it was her neighbor then.
It was her neighbor at the time.
Yeah, in the 90s, who they don't even talk anymore. And she has recently come out, or that neighbor, I don't know if it's a man or female, has recently come out and corroborated that story. And we have a call now from, and I went back and looked at this, Allie, from Tara Reid's mom in the 90s calling into Larry King, talking about her daughter who was sexually harassed by a sitting senator of the time. We have a lot. This isn't fucking what happened with Kavanaugh. We have corroborating evidence, and they want to push it under the rug, but now that Bernie's out, the Republicans are talking about it, and everybody has to talk about it now. Just like I predicted all along. I said now that Bernie's out, this is what's going to be talked about. This is Trump's only chance now that the economy's crumbled. You fucking idiots. It's the DNC. The DNC chose Hillary, and now they chose Biden. The 2 people that can possibly lose to this man, and they're going to blame Bernie supporters that won't vote for a person that is running away from a serious sexual harassment issue.
Well, you already know that I will defend Hillary to the grave, not because I was originally a Hillary supporter. Again, I campaigned for Bernie, but because Hillary herself has done.
Lost to her. The Republicans had demonized that woman for 20 years. I mean,
yeah, they
you galvanized the
her,
country against Hillary Clinton when you nominate her to be your fucking nominee.
Yeah, she also was one of the most qualified candidates ever
I agree
ever run for
100%.
office.
I have defended her, but we're talking reality here. The Republicans had demonized
her
for 20
sexism.
Fucking years. Benghazi alone. And then fucking Donald Trump brought out every single Bill Clinton accuser, and it wasn't so much about Bill Clinton, but how Hillary reacted to them. And she was fucking atrocious. She was a monster to those people. And people that don't want to talk about that aren't being fucking intellectually honest, because she was a fucking monster to those accusers of Bill Clinton.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I'm not going to deny that. As a leader, though, and as the work that she's done worldwide, she has been absolutely valuable.
She would have been, I mean, no other president had
we would not have
60,000 first lady of a state, of the nation, plus a sitting senator, plus the Secretary of State. Nobody has ever been that qualified. I've always said that about Hillary Clinton. She would have been the most qualified president of all time.
She's also incredibly famous and popular internationally.
And she was a civil rights lawyer. I mean, she has that history, but I mean, power corrupted her. I mean, there's no doubt she sold her soul to the corporations, and any true progressive that's going to argue that point isn't a fucking true progressive, because it's plain as fucking day.
Well, I mean, in any capitalist system, no matter how many protections you put in, ultimately money equals power. Money is itself a representation of power. It's always going to be.
Yeah,
no matter how many different ways you try to, put protections in, whether power corrupts or not, you could have the most honest, kind, loving leader ever, and ultimately the establishment around them would be corrupted by money. Because no matter how much you want to look out for the common person, money is power in a capitalist system.
Well, I mean, I love Bernie Sanders to death, but if you actually take an honest look at his entire career, I mean, he's been corrupted by the system. If you look at Bernie Sanders now compared to what he was saying 40 years ago, he's not the communist he used to be. He used to be a fucking communist, and that's because he's been a fucking sitting senator for what, 25 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And he's amassed a fair bit of wealth of his own during that time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean. Power corrupts even the best intentions, and I still honestly believe Bernie has the best intentions in politics, but it's still there, and anybody can see it if they're intellectually honest about it. That's why, I've never sugarcoated my candidates, whether I've worked for them or just supported them. I've always had a fair truth in my inner self about who those people are and why I'm still voting for them. Because we're all human beings. We're not the image we portray to the fucking public. I think I'm more honest than most about who I am because I give no fucks. But most people ain't like me. I've got a video coming out that's going to slightly explain why I am the way I am. And it might surprise some of y'all.
Yeah, is that the one that you showed me that I was
Yeah.
like, holy fuck?
Yeah, I'm probably
Okay,
going to put it out tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that it was out for patrons, but I didn't know that if it was out for the general public yet, because I always watch it when you send it to me.
I'm going to put it out tomorrow probably.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be freaking shocked, guys. Like seriously, you'll learn a lot about Knock, and this was something that surprisingly, despite the fact that I know probably more about Knock's life than most people, I was really surprised. He'd never told me about this, so you guys are in for a treat. He's very passionate and extremely like emotional throughout this, and I think it's an important message. I really do.
I do too.
Sorry for being vague, but I don't want to give any spoilers.
Should I put it out now or should I save it? And I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna put it out. Let it speak for itself, and maybe people will get a good insight into who I am and why I do some of the things I do.
So coming back to like what I was trying to say, I was saying that like the most viable candidate, I think, other than Bernie, would probably have actually been Warren. Like Warren might not have won the primary, but she didn't win the primary because of the push that Biden had in the South.
I was watching the Young Turks earlier, and I usually don't get too, I know everybody thinks that I like watch them obsessively, but I don't usually have much time to catch them live. I've been kind of like not doing anything today, so I caught them live. And they were talking, and I thought it kind of hit home with me. It's like, we're not even asking that you put Bernie into the nomination at this point. I'm going to vote for Biden. I am, because he's the lesser of two evils. But we're asking for anybody else. I mean, choose your Kamala Harris, your Buttigieg, whoever the fuck you want to put in there instead of that man. But
fuck Buttigieg, just saying, he's a racist fuck.
Right now, I don't care who it is. I don't. As long as it's not Biden. But I'm still going to vote for him. But right now, like, he needs to deal with this, and he needs to get this out of the way. And I'm gonna be honest. I've said it before. I think the man has dementia, and I think that there's a reason he's not out here just all over the news talking about the ineptitude of the Trump administration right now. It's because his people knows that his dementia is getting worse, and he can't speak for very long, or it's going to be apparent. There's a reason why he's not out. There's a reason why he's not trying to win this presidency. I mean, Trump is slipping because of Corona. But you can't just sit back idle and put a statement out here and there. I mean, that's not going to win against this fucking man.
Well, and especially because, like, for any thinking person, Trump has majorly messed this up, which brings us away from Tara Reid and away from that update. God damn it,
let's
Doc.
move on. I don't want to stay on one subject too long tonight. And fuck, I'm back to your screen. I'm going to smoke a bowl and chill the fuck out because I'm a little worked up.
Yeah, press the edit avatar button so there's not two of me. At least it's my old avatar.
I can do it while we're live?
Yeah, you can do it while we're live.
I have my picture, though. I don't know. I've usually got to find it. Or
it
make
should
it
be
again.
in there. No, it should be in there. Like I had the option of putting it back on there, so it should be in there. But coming back to, we've got an update from Mr. Butthole himself out in Louisiana, Pastor Tony Spell. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Pastor Tony Spell, but he is out in Louisiana. He decided to defy the stay-at-home order and open up his church. And if I recall correctly, he even bussed people to his church from across the state. Whoops. You put me out.
I'm not finding where... Oh, there we are. All
right. So he even bussed people from across the state to his church to have service because he claimed that coronavirus was a conspiracy theory to undermine the authority of the church and undermine religious freedom and things like that. Well, idiot got arrested a little while ago for doing that because, well, duh, you're stupid. You're putting your congregation at risk. And if I remember right, they've talked about how they're concerned that they might trace a breakout back to it. There have already been a few reported cases among that congregation. I'm going to have to go dig some other stuff up in order to confirm that. But I remembered like conversations about on the news about a breakout that originated from a church, and I think it might be his. However, the actual update that we've got comes from WBRZ. It's an ABC sort of local news type station. Central Police Department says its phones were tied up Wednesday because of an influx of calls prompted by the mother of arrested Pastor Tony Spell. So his fucking mom decided to generate a call-in campaign. In a Facebook post, the department apologized to residents who were having trouble reaching law enforcement and cited a swarm of calls from supporters of a controversial pastor as the cause. Central PD says that Spell's mother, Magi Spell, shared the department's phone number on social media and encouraged people to inundate the line with calls. The department encourages anyone who has a problem to report and keep trying to reach police. Residents should call 911 in case of emergency. Spell was arrested again this past weekend after he violated his house arrest and once again defied the state's stay-at-home order. So he did it twice. By hosting Sunday service at Life Tabernacle Church, he has since been released on bond. So this was updated yesterday.
Yeah, like when I first saw this, you know, and I've done a couple streams on this guy, and you know, he's the example of Christian extremism, keeping their doors open against the public health of their own parishioners. But when I saw that he had contracted COVID and was still going and preaching, and the pictures of him just fucking standing right above them, screaming in their faces, and he's got COVID-19. Like, if any of those people die, I think he should be charged with attempted murder.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, again, this guy was also the guy who demanded people's fucking stimulus checks. Same dude, who demanded people's stimulus checks, quote, to send to evangelists
We'll
and
talk about
missionaries.
that, Iron Charioteer, because, yes, the protesters here are getting worse, but we will talk, we'll talk about that in just later on in the show.
Yeah, because we've got these two news articles that we wanted to cover, and then we'll start talking about the protests and stuff again. But we wanted to cover some religious bullshit because, well, religious bullshit. And let's face it, we've all been inundated with COVID news.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about COVID too much, but the Michigan protesters, I mean, they went in the state capitol with their guns. It's all right. Well, but continue, Ali. I'm sorry. Well, we will talk about that later.
So, but yeah, I mean, this motherfucker was dumb enough to, like, violate the order twice. Fucking twice. And his congregation may be spreading the virus, and on top of it, he's telling people to send him their stimulus checks, which I don't know if y'all have been to Louisiana, but, like, it ain't exactly the richest place on earth. Right? Like, this guy's congregation is probably not in the top 10% of income earners, is what I'm saying. These are not the kinds of people that can give out their stimulus checks just willy-nilly to missionaries.
Well, and it's why these types of people are so important to the Republican Party, honestly. This is how they control poor people into voting against their own interest. It's through God. And it's why, you know, I politically, I'm just so dead set against religion being able to lobby our government. The separation of church and state has been shattered. The moment that religion went exempt from taxes, and the moment that religion was allowed to lobby to our politicians, give them money for support of their outrageous fucking ideas. I mean, and it's not like progressives are lobbying. We're talking the fundamentals. We're talking the fucking Jerry Falwells and the Franklin Grahams. Before him, it was his father. These people are putting a lot of money into the Republican Party, and it's paying off hugely with Donald Trump.
Yeah. And, like, in an slightly older article, you know, the police themselves even said, instead of showing the strength and resilience of our community during this difficult time, Mr. Spell has chosen to embarrass us for his own self-promotion.
Like this dude he's not even NIFB. Like, the NIFB is smarter than this guy. And, if you ever say that about yourself, like I'm dumber than the NIFB, you got fucking issues, man.
Well, I mean, in this guy, I found confirmation in that article. Yes, he was the guy who bussed people in. Some people drove more than 100 miles to be there. 1,220 people.
Like, he was literally on
attended
house
his
arrest
church.
after contracting COVID. He
And
was
then he
under
broke his fucking house
and
arrest.
he broke that and to go preach to more people and give more people the fucking disease.
1,200 fucking people in that room. And given what we're starting to learn about aerosols, like, imagine the people that he could have potentially infected the week before, or that any of the people in his congregation could have infected. Because remember, guys, my household is a case study for how this shit works. Between me and my husband, we got every single symptom that's on the goddamn list. It's just one or the other of us got it. But 2 people in our house, including, one who's super high risk, never developed symptoms. If they had been allowed to leave our house, they could have gotten untold numbers of people sick just by talking. Like, spit comes flying out of your mouth when you talk, whether you like to admit that or not. Breathing aerosolizes the virus.
Have you heard the new talking point out? God damn it. I mean, I guess we're going to talk some COVID. Because this happened in my work the other day from a reasonable Republican. Yeah, he voted Trump, but he voted Trump for tax breaks because he's a business owner. He owns the business I work for. Always been a reasonable dude, pretty good. Knows I'm an extremist far lefty. Never judged me for it. You know what I'm saying? And he probably could, because like he'll hear me say like eat the rich and fucking kill the rich and shit like that. Joking, but he hears it, right? So. He said the other day that, that this virus has been out for a lot longer than anybody ever knew. And that, we all got this really bad flu in November. And that was really COVID-19. And we've all already had it anyways. And that's why the numbers aren't as bad as they originally projected. And I literally had to tell him, like, dude, the numbers aren't as bad as they originally projected because we enacted all of these things we did. Like, seriously, like, can't you understand that? Like, I had that flu in November. Allie, you remember, I was very sick.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't
but
fucking COVID. It wasn't COVID.
Okay, as somebody who has both had the flu and had COVID this year, COVID ain't the fucking flu. Like, it's fucking not. And besides that, the first confirmed case in the U.S. didn't come here until February.
Yeah, China probably did lie about their shit, and it probably was here earlier. But trust me, that shit was the flu. It was a fucking crazy ass flu. I had it. Allie remembers, like, because she heard me have it every day for a week.
Yeah, he had the flu. He did not have COVID. If he had COVID, he would be in the hospital. And I'm saying this because I know Knox breathing ain't the best on the best of days.
I've been smoking for 25 years. I have a autoimmune deficiency because of my vein disease that's been racking my body for the last 4 years. It's why I'm blowing the fuck up, and it's why I'm going to really have to start working out because I'm getting some issues in my mind.
Yeah, so, like, guys, this is just a reminder, COVID ain't the fucking flu. You're talking to somebody who had it right now. You're talking to somebody who ended up in the hospital because there was a scare involving potential blood clots in my legs because of the incredible fucking pain that I was dealing with every night. With my vein disease,
if I had COVID-19, it's like almost 100% I would have had multiple blood clots in my fucking legs during that flu, and I didn't. My legs weren't a problem. The problem was I was puking nonstop. That was the fucking problem.
Yeah, so, like, coming back to, the stuff regarding COVID.
I keep getting us off track. I'm so bad at that shit.
Well, the stuff regarding COVID and all of that, like with the flu, you could have gone in.
I'm sorry, Wilson. Yes, I am. I'm getting older. It sucks.
So, if that so-called reasonable fuck that you were talking about wasn't a cheapskate and actually paid for proper insurance and shit, for his employees, then, like, you could have gone in and gotten a flu fucking test. COVID, on the other hand,
my business don't. I mean, it's when you do what I do, you accept it. It's a thing you accept. It's how our capitalist country is. Right?
Yeah, I get that. It doesn't mean that I can't have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everything should be unionized, honestly. But I mean, we've seen the problem with worker-based health insurance, because how many people don't have fucking insurance? It's over like 20 million people now have lost their insurance because they lost their jobs.
Yeah. I mean, besides that, like, have you ever seen like that fucking Cobra shit? Like, it's 3 times as expensive as your old insurance on top of it.
No, I never see. I've had health insurance like twice in my life for about a period of a year. That's it. That's all ever. And it's the second time I got it is when I got my vein disease, and the state of Michigan was like, "Here, you need health insurance." And then once they fixed it, they were like, "Hey, you don't need health insurance anymore."
Well, I can tell you it was some bullshit. So coming back to other news, on the subject of evangelicals being
I'll
shitty
be right
around
back.
COVID, I looked up where Hickory was, Knock, and since you AFK'd, I'll tell you in a second. But we've got Hickory, North Carolina, local pastor raising eyebrows with his sermons amid the coronavirus pandemic. This is an article that actually came out today. It says, since the outbreak of COVID-19, Pastor Gene Gouge at Liberty Baptist in Hickory, so, oh, look, guys, Baptists, has been broadcasting his message of concern across the foothills, and he isn't mincing his words. The news media is pure evil communist propaganda, Gouge says. Not only has he attacked coverage of the pandemic, but also whether or not the virus is truly a threat to the country. 95% of everything that has gone on in the last month or 2 months is a mirage. It's an illusion. It's a delusion. It ain't real. By the way, Knock, I looked up where Hickory is. It's about an hour north of Charlotte.
Oh, I know where Hickory is. I've been there several times.
Oh, you said you didn't know where it was earlier.
No, I think you misunderstood. Like or either I mistyped. But no, I've been there several times.
Yeah, so this guy's out in Hickory. He says Gouge believes the response to the pandemic is violating his congregation's civil rights, like what fucking pastor doesn't, apparently. At least not the fundies. So he's put a sign outside his church asking the governor to stop the persecution of churches and Christians and to open the churches. He believes that people should be allowed to gather at places of worship, that we believe this virus has been weaponized and used to hurt our country and hurt our Constitution, he said. Which, I'm going to remind everybody here, they're lashing out against the so-called government control, but, like, isn't North Carolina currently governed by a Republican?
I do believe they have a Democratic governor and the Republican House and whatever it is down there. I can't remember. But pretty much the legislative branch is done everything they can to take away all of his power since he's become governor, because they had to do something in North Carolina that they didn't like, which is start fucking getting rid of those gerrymandering laws that they had. And now in this election, they're pretty much gone. So North Carolina is like a true battleground state now, and it's fucking beautiful. You take away the Republican suppression of the vote, and all of these red states that have suppressed their people from voting, that shit's gonna flip, yo. I mean, gerrymandering is one of the more important issues in our country, right beneath climate change and money and politics, in my opinion.
Oh, we might have a NIFBY in this chat. I can't tell.
I always usually do at some point or another. Usually when they call me Ronnie, it's a NIFBY.
Yeah, that's the flag that made me think it might be a NIFBY.
Ronnie chose to start smoking. I ain't paying for shit. I did choose to start smoking. I chose to start smoking because my parents smoked, and you know, I idolized my parents, so I stole their cigarettes because, you know, the cycle of addiction and the cycle of hatred are all wrapped into one, and the things you learn as a child, you know, that silly religion you have, those things matter when they shouldn't. And now I'm trying to quit something that I should be able to quit, but I can't.
Marvin, forgive me if I haven't seen you around before, but are you a NIFBY? This is a question. Are you, or at the very least, are you a Christian? Are you an atheist? Are you a longtime viewer? I don't think I've seen you around before.
I love it. They make me realize that I'm doing what I should be doing, or they wouldn't be here sinning right now, listening to the raging atheists talk shit about their fucked up God.
Well, at the very least, about his so-called emissaries, because, I mean, let's face it, these guys are making major asses of themselves. Like, you'd think the Christians would want to protect each other, right? Like, why would you want to get into a fight over being able to show up in a building when your God can listen to you anywhere?
Yeah,
As a pagan, like, I have a fucking problem with
this. The fucking NIFBYs have actually been following the guidelines and encouraging people not to come to their churches, and if they do come to their churches, actually been social distancing. I've given them credit for it, so I don't know why the fucking NIFBY is so butthurt.
Oh, we got Oblivion up in the chat, too.
Oh yeah, gotta love when the trolls come out. It means you're doing right. I mean, all our numbers are back up. We just got to get these live viewers back up, and once it gets out that I'm allowing a lot more in the side chats, I think that that's gonna start happening.
Marvin says he ain't an FB.
New Baptist shit, not one of them. All right, whatever. You give yourself away when you use my real name. You kind of lump yourself in with there, and NIFBs tend to lie, so I'm just gonna call you a NIFB until you prove otherwise, NIFB.
All right, let's not be mean to the chat. Let's not distract too hard.
Well, I mean, they can say a lot more now, but that means I get to troll them back, the fuckers. I mean, why do you think I'm allowing this shit?
All right. So I guess on the subject though of Christians being assholes about the COVID thing, like as a pagan, I don't get this whole we have to be able to go to a building shit, given that pagans have been kind of gathering online and doing online services for fucking years. Like, I absolutely love what Ocean's been doing over on his server. He's been doing pagan days of prayer, like, about once a month. Like,
later I want to talk about John
actual
Richardson.
National
I
Day of
watched
Prayer.
Ocean's video earlier, and I'm like, fuck yes, we're going to talk about that tonight, too.
Yeah, John Richards fucking suing David Worley.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I knew about it because I'm on the inside, but when I watched Ocean's video, and I'm like, fuck yeah, we're gonna talk about it now. Ocean talked about it, I can talk about it. I'm not in the chat like I should be because maybe David, you know, I'm sure, you know, it's cool. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
So apparently Marvin says he was young Earth creation when he was younger, but he's agnostic now.
No, whatever. I mean, still, I mean, you call me Ronnie. You're disrespecting me. You think in your mind, but it's like my fucking name. The reason I don't use that name is because I had a bunch of fucking NIFB members threaten my child and knew where I lived. So, I mean, lump yourself in with them if you want. Like I said, I mean, you can say what you want, but fucking NIFBs lie.
Yeah, I wonder if Marvin is doing that because somebody else did it in the chat. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt for 30
like a
seconds.
meme now, I guess. I mean, and I do let that Christian vlogger do it because he's a cool Christian and I actually know him personally.
Yeah, he and I fucking teamed up together to get you those masks, and I'm actually going to be a little bit public about that because you decided to be public about it.
It's not like I hide my name. It's just I stopped using it even before the death threats, you know, because I wanted to talk about my native heritage. You know, I'd used my real name like fuck for a good year and a half on my old channel. I started using Nakasuchi on that channel right at the end of that channel, and then I started when I made this channel. That's what I used.
All right, so, like, I guess that's pretty much most of what I've got to say about COVID is that these people want to get extremely fucking sick, extremely fucking fast. They can get pissy about a building, but, like, last I checked, you know, y'all are supposed to be praying, except for maybe the Catholics. I don't know what the Catholics think about prayer all that much. I know that there's, like, prayer beads and rosaries and shit, and I know the saints are supposed to be able to intercede on their behalf, but I don't know that much about Catholicism. But, like, apart from Catholics, which I know have to go to confession and shit, like, most Christians think they can talk directly to God. And if you can talk directly to God, you can talk directly to God either, you know, praying through a microphone in an online service, or you can talk directly to God by yourself in your motherfucking bedroom or with your family. Like, I don't understand why Christians feel so obsessed with being able to physically go to a building.
I kind of feel bad now. Like, all right, so yeah, maybe he just didn't know. Sorry. I can be an asshole. Ali will tell you.
Oh yeah, apparently he's a dragoon, so he didn't know.
Sorry, I can be an asshole. I do apologize. I see Ronnie and I think NIFB, so I treat people like NIFBs, and I shouldn't do that. I just shouldn't. But I'm a dick, so I do apologize. And
well,
like
if you're not using
it, if you're not using it in like a mean way, then I really don't give a fuck. I honestly don't.
But, like, you know, we're not gonna take the bait. We're not gonna get into conversations about Cherokee and Haida and names and stuff like that.
I'm not gonna do that tonight. We are due for like a Native American live stream though. I think we haven't had one in quite a while.
Yeah, we could probably, if we don't end up with a guest for Thursday, we could probably do something like that where we talk about Native American stuff.
I'm gonna start emailing soon. We're gonna get lots of guests. I've got my little wish list going on, and I think I'm gonna get a bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean, people don't have fuck all to do right now.
I know. Yeah, well, except for me because I'm working again. You know, I do have a fucking topic because you know I'm working again, and in about 2 weeks now, Michigan is going to be fucking phasing back into reopening, and I think that's too soon. I'm actually going to tell my bosses that I only want to do part-time. I want to minimize my exposure because of my daughter and myself. We're both high risk, and I think that they're going to work with me. But 30 million people in this country have filed for unemployment now. But the question is this, Ali, and I'm going to let you respond first before I respond. Should Trump be blamed for the collapse of the economy?
I think to a certain extent, yes. He was notified on January 1st of the potential for a pandemic, and he did nothing until March when it was already spreading like wildfire through my state. Like when it was already spreading like wildfire through the whole of the US at that point, but it was definitely visibly spreading like wildfire through my state because we were the first ones hit. He urged governors and others to do nothing, and the only reason my state flattened the curve is because our governor gave the federal government the middle finger and started shutting shit down early.
God, I'm letting the chat trigger me. I'm sorry, Elliot.
Nope, don't do it. Don't do it.
For one, I'm gonna shout out. I'm sorry, Wilson. Welcome to Patreon. We're gonna make it. Allie's gonna work with me to make it better. I'm not poor. I think I'm very, very rich. I've got everything I want, and I've got a really great kid. I'm sorry that you have this monetary version of what wealth is. That's on you though, dog. Go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, and like as far as he goes, he denied the severity of the problem for weeks, even after it was spreading like wildfire. And then after about 2 weeks, when around the time that he potentially could have been exposed, because if I remember right, like the ambassador to Iran or something like that had it, and he might have shaken his hand, and there was a big scare. A bunch of senators got it. At that point, he was like, okay, well, maybe there's a problem, but I'm not going to invoke the World Powers Act. But you know what he did invoke the War Powers Act for a couple days ago? To keep fucking meat plants open, despite the fact that coronavirus was spreading like wildfire through the fucking meat plants. But he wouldn't invoke the War Powers Act to produce ventilators. And he wouldn't send ventilators to states like Michigan. In fact, he called companies to tell them not to ship shit to Michigan.
Everybody saw it on my Discord server today. I had to prove that I could buy seeds in Michigan. I had to prove it. Even after sending like the debunks and how it's not true, I still had to prove it. I had to. It was ridiculous.
So it was the chief of staff for the president of this chief of staff of the president of Brazil. Thank you, Dr. Brian Oblivion. I said that I could be mistaken, so thank you for correcting me if that's the case. So the point being was that Trump didn't actually turn his shit around until he potentially could have been exposed and until many other senators were. Basically, until it was in his literal face. And that's the problem with this president. Like, he tried to turn around and say he was joking about injecting fucking disinfectant into your veins. He promoted two chemicals that were not,
Okay, but is that the reason why the economy collapsed?
All of those things are part of the reason that the economy collapsed. The economy collapsed because he allowed uncontrolled spread because he did not take it seriously.
Well, and I will agree with that. But I'm going to argue that the economy has been on the verge of collapse for quite a while. That, his tax cuts exasperated the problem. But Obama really only put Band-Aids on what happened in 2008. And we've had corporate greed since. I know you know about the Panama Papers. We lose $200 billion a year in tax revenue due to offshore accounts because the rich people do not pay their fucking taxes. We do. They don't. So I think that this problem has been going on for quite a long time. And I think despite his ineptitude, he definitely has exasperated the problem because he's a fucked up, stupid ass president that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't think that Trump can be blamed for the collapse of the economy because argued for 20 years now. I mean, Hillary Clinton was one of the first people arguing for universal health care in this country when her husband was president, and it hasn't been done yet. And we see the results of that now. You know, we're seeing the results of corporate greed now. I mean, they're trying to push us back to work and kill us all, basically, or at least play Russian roulette with our fucking lives because their bottom lines are down, even though the richest people are still making a lot of fucking money right now. So, I mean, I don't think it's Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump was the fucking virus after the symptoms, but they've always been there, and this has been bound to happen. It's just happening now because we're fucking America.
Well, I think that you're right that the virus did expose a number of systemic problems that have been there under the surface, not in the least which being our extremely reactive healthcare system rather than having a very proactive or preventative healthcare system like they do in other places. However, Trump also gutted the living hell out of every single one of the departments in the federal government that could have potentially helped him create task forces and such to handle this
This would not
virus.
have been as bad if the American, if at least half of the fucking country weren't idiots. Because, I mean, we were all telling them. Like, I just put a meme up earlier. You probably seen it, Ali, because you're on my Facebook. But it's like, if you would have told me 3.5 years ago when Trump was elected, if by 2020, the end of his first term, if the economy had completely collapsed, I would have fucking believed you, right? Like this, I mean, and that's the truth. Like, we told them this was gonna fucking happen, and he did exactly what we told. They ignored us and called us libtards for the last 3.5 years, and now their grandma's dying, maybe.
Yeah, and looking at what happened, like, this could have happened under any Republican leadership, but I think Trump is a special kind of stupid.
Under any president. I mean, let's not fool ourselves. I mean, the economy would have shut down under any president.
But would any president have fired the entirety of the pandemic task force?
And with how he exasperated the problems, if we hadn't had Trump for 3.5 years, I mean, it's going to be really hard to rebound from this now because the rich are going to get richer through this. But the poor, Dr. Brian Oblivion in the chat talking shit about the poor, we're going to get poorer. And what happens throughout history when that happens? I mean, the rich are stupid. They're fucking stupid. They don't learn shit.
Well, and I mean, like, if you qualify under poor, I'm most definitely middle class, and we're fucking struggling. Like, my household has been struggling. My husband was out of work for over a month.
I grew up wealthy. I've lived both lives. I've lived so many different lives. I grew up in one of the richest areas in the fucking nation. They all hate me now. Like, if I were to go back there, they'd probably burn me at the stake in the town square. Like, that's how fucking bad it is. Like, I'm enemy number one now. Like, I'm not welcome. Even though my dad still fucking lives there.
Well, and again, besides that, I think genuinely, the virus still would have hit our shores. But I think that almost if anybody in the Republican clown car, except for maybe, I'm trying to remember the one name, there was one particular nutter that I was as scared of as Trump. But if anybody in the Republican clown car from the initial elections almost, like if, say, Marco Rubio or Jeb were in charge, I think they would have listened to their scientific briefings significantly faster. I think that, like border closures would have happened earlier in terms of travel, like travel restrictions. I think that there would have been testing a lot sooner. I honestly think that establishment, the one thing that you can say for the establishment versus, the loony bin that is Trump, is that they do tend to listen to experts to some degree. I don't think that shelter in place would have happened as fast as it needed to, but Trump didn't even put travel restrictions in until March. And by then it was already here.
Well, and you've heard me argue, I mean, you've heard my arguments against Trump. So, like, I'm not endorsing Trump by any means. I'm just, I think that people should talk about the big picture and how we got here and not just blame Trump. Like, people... Yeah, Trump's tax breaks for the rich have definitely been exposed now, I think, without a doubt. I think that, worker-based health insurance has definitely been exposed now without a doubt. Like, the majority of the country wanted universal health care before coronavirus. After coronavirus, I mean, it's pretty much going to be like just, it's going to be the weed issue. It's just a matter of time now, right? So, we're winning but at the same time, this has been going on for a long time. Rush Limbaugh has been on the radio now for decades, and he survived blatantly being racist against Donovan McNabb. He survived drug addiction, you know, and which I don't knock him, honestly, for that, because human beings are weak, and he got help for that. But his base should, because they're the family values fucking evangelical Christian nut jobs, you know, and they're like 40% of the country, and they listen to him. And this has been a sickness for a long time. And Donald Trump just came in and showed you what that sickness really looked like. And I just don't want to be like, get so lost in our hate for Trump that we don't see what really fucking happened here. And that is the oligarchy of this country fucking it up.
Well, apparently you found something that you agree with Oblivion on, because he says Trump is an idiot. But yeah, like,
no,
I think
but Dr. Brian Oblivion, I wasn't raised in Michigan. Like, you should have followed, like, if you knew me, like, if you only just knew me, then you would know these things. And it's not like I hide anything. You're just a fucking idiot that speaks out of your ass because you don't know shit. I wasn't raised in Michigan. I was born here. I came back here, but I wasn't raised here. Maybe you should know people.
Yeah, I think he's commenting on a quote from Trump.
Well, no, he's like, there are no counties in Michigan that are one of the richest areas in the U.S. No, but Davie County, North Carolina is, dude, and that's where I was raised. I've spoken about it. I don't hide it. I don't. I'm from. I walked into the woods. You know, like I often say, like where I grew up, there was more cows than people. But you would walk into the woods and you'd come across a KKK meeting. Shit like that, you know. I've lived a lot of different lives, Dr. Brian Oblivion, so you can judge me. I love it. I feed off of it. That's why I'm doing this stream with just me and Allie. I haven't interacted with you trolls in a while. Fuck y'all motherfuckers. I am me, yo.
But yeah, like,
I love it, Allie. I'm sorry. I usually I don't like, you know, I usually I'm bringing you out of the chat, but like fuck them tonight. Like I haven't talked to Dr. Brian Oblivion fucking directly yet. You know, Dr. Brian, you should know me, dude. You should know me, but you don't. But I don't hide myself. Go watch my videos. They're all there. That's why I'm demonetized.
Well, I can assure you guys that Knock is also just as much of a grump in private as he is in public.
Oh, I'm a fucking asshole, man. But you got to be in this world.
But, yeah, like, responding, I'm going to do one last response, and then we're going to talk about community drama, because that's a lot of fun, and there's quite a bit of it going around right now.
We got to talk about rednecks in the Michigan Capitol still, so.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about that either. So I wanted to respond to Marvin Manister, and that is, like, we already don't pay enough in taxes. Currently, if we have universal health care, on 6 or 7 of the different plans that I have seen for it, I'll actually be paying less extra in taxes than we are currently paying in premiums to keep our health care, like, for our household. And I'd be more than happy to pay that, knowing that Knock can get the same kind of health care that I can. Just saying. Like, Knock was too fucking scared when he got sick a couple of months ago to go in and get checked.
I had this stupid-ass Southern fucking, like, honor and pride inside of me. It gets me in a lot of trouble. I don't seek welfare for myself. I will seek it for my child, but I don't get it for myself.
But the point I'm trying to make is that if you had insurance through, you know, like a universal health care, you would have gone in to get your shit checked. But you were scared of the bill.
I don't go to the doctor unless I'm fucking dying. I mean, that's when I go to the doctor. You know, my daughter goes all the time. She's got health insurance. I go to the doctor if I'm fucking dying.
So, Tony brought it up. The community drama that we are talking about has nothing to do with anybody here. It has to do with Mr. John fucking asshole Richards, who has decided that he's going to threaten David Worley with litigation if he does not take down all of the videos that he has made about him. Apparently.
Yeah, he's threatened to use his money against. Ocean made the best point. Like, you would think that if you're going to sue somebody, you would sue somebody like Mr. Atheist, who has a very huge platform. But they're suing David Worley. Why? Because David was like, fuck it, if you guys are gonna have this stupid ass conference where Lance Gregorchuk is gonna be a part of that, then I'll have a conference where Lance Gregorchuk isn't. And so I guess that's the basis for his threats, at least. I don't think that I think it's a bluff, but I don't think it's really certain whether it's a bluff or not. But what it does show is that this dude is a douchebag, and he's no representative of atheism. And I'm gonna start talking about atheism a little bit because we need to look at ourselves honestly, and who we really want to represent us. Because a lot of these people that claim, atheism is like this answer to a question, but when you have these elitist motherfuckers trying to run these conventions and not protect everybody or not include everybody, then I think I have a fucking issue with that, and I'm gonna start calling that shit out.
Well, and I actually helped Nervardia out with the script for her video that she published fairly recently on this controversy, where the explain video, where she talked about
they've been thoroughly exposed at this point. Like it has to be a bluff on his part, because I think he's trying to use his money and whatever power he thinks he has to quash the little man. But that ain't gonna fucking happen. I mean, there's no way David Worley comes out of this in any bad way. They do. I would hope for any just world.
Well, and again, going back to Nervardia, like talking about the way that John Richards has handled all of these interviews, like he exposes himself as not having ever had a leadership role in convention planning, because I've actually helped run a convention. I ran the fundraising department for a convention out here in the U.S. in Washington for a little while. We helped on a committee to do specifically the outside of convention fundraising. Like we were doing events and things periodically for various holidays and things to help do fundraising so that we could afford bigger speakers and that sort of thing for the convention itself. And so I met regularly with the board for the convention and with the volunteers. And one of the things that I noticed was when the convention was being founded, when they created their anti-harassment policy, they had to have a meeting with their security team to discuss specific enforcement of their anti-harassment policy right away, like the board that I worked with. There was a version of it that was published, and there was a version of it that was given to the security team and to the head of the security team so that, on the front end, people knew what the attendees were allowed to do and not allowed to do and what was expected of them. But on the back end, there was also a thorough extra sort of layer to the policy that showed exactly how it was supposed to be enforced and when to get law enforcement involved and things of that nature. Because when you're running a convention out of a hotel or something like that, your risk of those sorts of things happening, and by those sorts of things, I mean the kind of things that YouTube really doesn't like us to say, those sorts particularly of things, sexual misconduct.
Actually, if you talk to the women in the community that go to these conventions,
they happen all the fucking time.
Happen all the fucking time, and it's really, really time to address it. And I commend David Worley for exposing it. And I mean, we've covered it. If you haven't seen the interview on fucking David Worley, this elitist rich prick acts like a 3-year-old child with Nervardia, and it was fucking disgusting. It was disgusting.
And coming back to that conversation, when he did an interview with Nervardia, he refused to answer even the most basic questions about how that policy was going to be enforced. Iron Charioteer just asked me a kind of trollish question. Do you really think the organizer was going to rub up David Worley's leg? The point wasn't whether or not he was going to do that. The point was, in a drunken fit, that guy, Lance Gregorchuk, made it clear that he had in the past potentially had, done some pretty fucked up stuff to somebody. When you're that fucking drunk and you're saying stuff like, I stuck my hand up your skirt and you didn't say anything. He wasn't talking to David. He was talking to somebody who he'd probably hurt in the past.
I actually agree. The part that where he's telling David that he would rub his leg, he was clearly joking, but at the same time wasn't. Because he had admitted to such behavior earlier in the interview pretty much himself. You know, like that this is just what fucking happens. And he was implying in a jokingly manner.
It was straight up rape.
In a joking manner that he could do that to David, and it's not sexual. That's the implication of it. That it's okay because it's not sexual. It's just what happens, and that's fucking bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Well, and again, he said, like, has a girl never given you mixed signals? We've all done something like that. Like, it's clear that he had some kind of underlying guilt for something that he'd done in the past. I mean, it was straight up rape apologetics. It was, you know, when he was defending Lawrence Krauss, it was literal rape apologetics. He was absolutely saying, it's fucking okay if you're confused and then you do something horrible to a woman, she needs to just get over it.
Well, yeah,
and that's not fucking cool for an organizer.
At this point, it's not even really about that anymore, because more than likely this convention isn't going to fucking happen. This convention has already been postponed due to coronavirus, and so much damage has been done to it that nobody's going to fucking go to it. So this convention probably won't happen. Maybe it will. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think I am. At this point, what we have is an elitist person with a lot of money at his disposal that organizes these events, attacking a YouTube creator who did a good job, had an interview, and asked tough questions. It's not his fault that Lance Gregorchuk fucking sucked, and it's not David Worley's fault that John Richards fucking sucks at PR. That's their fault. But they're trying to use their influence and money to shut up a person that did a good job. That's the issue.
Well, and on top of that, like, I don't even know how litigation of this sort would work against David Worley.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they had no real ground to stand on. They just had these threats to intimidate. That's why I think that it's a bluff. But I don't know. Like, they actually have the money to follow through with it. And, you know, like, does David Worley have the money to combat that? Probably not. You know, that's this fucking world we live in now. And
I have a feeling.
It's not
I have
okay.
a feeling
it's
that
not fucking okay. It's just not.
I have a feeling that if this does happen and David Worley reaches out for help with legal expenses, that our community is going to flood him.
Dude, I don't have much faith in this world. You know, I mean, we have people in the state capitol with fucking assault rifles, and yet the moment people of color stand in opposition, we're treated with brutality and fucking assault weapons and dogs. And if you're not watching the Protect the Sacred series, then you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm not going to tell you because.
Oh, and don't forget brand new laws that are specifically designed to make it felonies for us to protest peaceably.
Yeah, for us, Native Americans, not. I mean, directly at us.
Yeah, because the specific law in question was it made it illegal to protest, I believe it was pipelines, like any sort of oil infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's what
which is specifically targeted at tribes who don't want that shit in our fucking water, which, by the way, guys, guess what? Dapple's already got 2 leaks. Already.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we've had victories, and I mean, Trump is losing on this, honestly, even with, like, all the judges he's put in the courts. It's like, it's illegal what they're doing. There's no doubt. But it doesn't matter because it's a bunch of fucking Native Americans and they kind of look Mexican, you know. But you got some white folks today in the state capital of Michigan, as the legislators are trying to do their jobs, screaming and chanting. We had representatives of the state of Michigan tweeting out that they were afraid for their lives, and that we had state legislative members of our state of Michigan wearing bulletproof vests today.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong with this country. There's something very sick with this country right now.
Is that an open carry? Is that an open carry county?
I mean, we're an open carry state now. Because of fucking, I'm pretty sure it was Snyder.
That's some shit.
I mean, I talked about it the first time I saw a gun in the Walmart and how it freaked me out, man. Like, I was like, this dude has no penis in front of me. And my daughter's right here. And he could be a fucking mass serial killer. And I don't fucking know. And he can anytime draw that weapon and just start shooting. It's terrifying. It's fucking terrifying. I don't carry weapons for a reason because I used to sell them That's why I went to prison. Fuck, I mean, my name's out there. Just look it up.
Yeah.
Watch my video tomorrow. You'll see.
But, like, coming back to the protests, like, the protests don't even make sense. They are literally begging to spill their blood for the Dow Jones. It's a fucking death cult. Like, you know that your fucking country, like, this is another one of those memes. I think I posted this one, and I think you grabbed it. I'm not sure. But you know your fucking country is housebroken when you got people begging to go back to work to make the rich richer. If you're talking, you didn't press your button, Knock. You still here? Okay, guys, I think that Knock's AFK for a second. I'm not really sure what's going on. Either that or, like, I've disconnected. I have no idea. Dr. Brian Oblivion, Knock is closer to a third, and I'm half. So, like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about your ass.
Sorry, I had to step away. I was getting a little angry. I usually get angry when I talk about what happened with No Dapple. It's why I usually make them edited videos, because I get very upset.
Yeah, you got Oblivion is trolling you, saying that you can't be more than 1/32 and da-da-da.
Say what?
Dude, Knock has his card. Like, he's actually, like, a card-carrying member of the Cherokee tribe, dude.
Dude, that's what I get told a lot. Yeah, that's what I get told a lot. Like, I had a guy tell me the other day, he called me Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah,
like,
fucking Americans.
I'm like one of the few white people
that
that actually experiences racism, and it's because I actually accepted my culture, and I talk about that culture, and I don't just be white, and white people can't stand it because they're racist. Fuck, I mean, it's like inherent, and you have to fight against it. I know, because it's in my blood. I have to fight against that shit too. I used to be a racist, so I understand.
Well, and besides that, like, again, Americans don't think I'm fucking Native American. Every Canadian I've ever met
I
has
just
asked
made
me
a
what
whole
tribe
lot of
I'm
white
from.
people hate me. I'm sorry. I got feelings. I almost got like it was like literally like the first time in like 8 years I almost got in a fist fight the other day. I think I told you the story, Ali. It was like about a week and a half ago at work. This guy's a big Trumper, and he made this comment about fucking like how America used to be great back in the 60s or some shit. And I'm like, and I go into the ways that it wasn't, and it led to like this altercation to where, you know, he's talking about like, you're a white dude. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking, you know, I'm like, I don't even know like the actual percentage. I usually say like 33%, but I'm like, dude, yeah, I mean, my dad was Irish, my mom, you know, she was Cherokee, she was mixed blood, half breed, you know, and that's the way it was. And I got some features from my mom, but I got a lot of features from my dad. And he was like, show me your card. Elizabeth Warren. I shit you not. And we got nose to nose. We were gonna step outside and fucking fight, and I was about to lose my job. I ain't almost been in a fight in 8 years, right? Like one of our coworkers jumped in between us before we started throwing blows and shit. Like, I was about to kick this motherfucker's ass. Because, I mean, racism hurts, man. Like, just because I look like I'm white and I don't accept that all the way should not trigger you, dude. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. The only reason it does is because you have this racism inside of yourself that you're fucking denying, and you need to get the fuck over it.
We've got so many trolls in the chat tonight. You know what fucking sucks, Knock? Is my accent slipping out or something? Because like people are asking me if I'm a Kiwi.
I'm like feeling free. Like, I've been tired all day, and now these trolls got me all worked the fuck up. So.
Yeah, you always wake up when we stream. But like, you know, coming back to stuff, guys. By the way, Tartan Snowflake is
These are like usually the best streams anyway. Like, when people come here to see me rage, fuck it, I'm gonna rage, right? I mean, we didn't. Well, yeah. we had a guest, he didn't show, or you know, we couldn't get a hold of him. So might as well just fucking go some old school for a minute. I put the hell back. We got the hell background. Everybody's burning. You know, Christians are throwing us in hell and shit. We might as well fucking rage out a little bit.
Well, and you know, you and I haven't just like chilled and chatted in a while. Like, we've gone over a lot of articles and responded to shit, and we haven't just done us for a bit. Yeah,
we needed it, man. It's been a while, Allie.
But yeah, like,
I lost my fucking lighter. I'm getting so worked up, like I'm walking off and like smoking and putting my lighter somewhere. I'll be right back.
All right. But coming back to shit, guys, like, Tart and Snowflake saw me on camera before I started coming on camera, once I got my office all set up and stuff again, which I'm open to get my back in order so I can go back down there and get my videos done for you guys. I've got the audio recorded for the first Pissed Off Polytheist. I just got to get downstairs to my actual video fucking editing software because it's one PC at a time. So even though this PC is strong enough to handle it, I got to go downstairs because my key only works for one. But yeah, I mean, like, hey, Maynard saved, smoke weed every day, knocks off getting his lighter so he can smoke some more.
Day. I found my lighter.
But, like, Nak actually is Cherokee, and Nakasuchi was the name he was given as Cherokee.
It's not a Cherokee
like,
name,
training.
It just isn't. All right, I'll explain it briefly. I was a juvenile delinquent. Well, not so much a juvenile delinquent, but too smart to fail. And I had rebelled. I'd been separated from my mother, taken down to North Carolina. Long way from my mom. And I rebelled. And I got in a lot of bad shit growing up poor in Battle Creek, Michigan. So I took that to rich-ass Whiteville. And they didn't like it so much. And they're like, you're smart. You're really, really smart. You're about to fail the 8th grade. And you're really good at football and basketball. We've got a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you to a wilderness camp. And you'll go to this wilderness camp. And you'll get all the credits in school. All you got to do is live in the woods. And I'm like, all right. And it's a wilderness camp. It's where they sit in juvenile delinquents. But I returned the next year. I played football and basketball for them motherfuckers. I got my shit together. I started passing again. It worked out. But the group I landed in was called Nakasuchi, the little bear. That's where the name comes from. I'm losing my breath for some reason. I don't know why. I'm getting worked up.
Well, and Aliakai actually is the name that I was supposed to be given at birth. I've told this story. My mother basically married an asshole. He divorced her by the time I was 1. She let him name me in order for him not to leave her. And he gave me a white name because he was British. But my mother would have named me Alakide or Aliakai, which means Lady of the Dogfish House or of the Dogfish House in Haida. So Alakide or Aliakai, depending on which dialect you speak, is actually my name. It is what my family calls me.
So my mother, actually, her family is descended directly from the Cherokees that some of her descendant left the Trail of Tears. A lot of Cherokee died on the Trail of Tears. A lot of Cherokee left that motherfucking trail, and they made their own way. Our descendants had this community in Ohio, I believe. It might have been Lower Michigan at the time. I'm not quite certain of that. To where there was a community of Cherokees there, but they were just pretty much integrated into white culture. My mom was, I think, 50% Cherokee. Maybe a little more than 50% Cherokee. The bloodlines got really muddled. And the bloodlines are continuing to get muddled because Indian Affairs makes it so. There is this ongoing, somewhat conspiracy theory, but most Native Americans believe it's true, that the moment that the last true-blooded Native American dies, the government doesn't have to live up to any treaty anymore. So they're trying to kill us all off. And they've done a pretty good job because there's not very many true bloods no more. I mean, it's like 99.8%.
Sup, Doubting Thomas? Hey, Native Atheist. We got a flood of people who just showed up all at once. Like, we went from 17 to
people
30
here,
almost
I'm raging
overnight.
out and shit. It's been a while.
But yeah, like, coming back to our native ancestry, unlike Nak, I was actually raised in my culture, but I can't get a card. So he and I are like polar opposite sides of the same fucking coin.
Well, my mom's family actually ended up going back to Tennessee at some point because that's where my mom comes from, was Tennessee. She was actually raised in Tennessee, and she was raised very, very Christian. Very, very Christian. Like, very fundamental Christian. Like, she told me stories, and I've had arguments with family members because they don't believe this, but my mom told me this directly, that when she was a child, she actually attended a church, a snake handling church in Tennessee, and that's where she grew up until they moved back to Michigan. So, yeah, I mean, it's been really hard to track down my ancestry, but it's been a passion of mine for 20 years since I first found out about my Native American heritage. And my mother told me, I mean, it's actually been like 25 years. My mother told me when I was in prison about my heritage because we were raised white. I've been very honest about all of that.
Well, yeah, and I've been nothing but honest about my history.
She always
as well,
told us we were
so.
olive-skinned. She never told us we were Native American descent for a
Well,
long time.
that's because there was a shame. Like my grandma used to talk about it, my great grandma used to talk about it. Like they had to pretend that they were white because there was a shame in having any sort of red in you. Especially for women. Women would get raped if they admitted that they had Native
and I do know
ancestry.
that my mom was raped a couple times, but I don't talk about that shit. That's her story, and she's dead now. But she wasn't raped by like white people or nothing. She was just raped by the system, in my opinion. It's just it's something that I've talked about. But every time I talk about the massive sexual abuse in this country, it gets instantly demonetized, if not taken down, almost immediately by YouTube.
Yeah. So I guess we have covered most of the topics that we ended up wanting to talk about originally. Do you have any other sort of news that you want to talk about?
I do want to get into the Michigan people, and it's going to kind of make me pissed again. But we really got to talk about that issue because whether you're Democrat
this is
or
one
Republican,
that I'm gonna let you. This is one I'm gonna let you rant on because that's your state.
well, I mean, it's just to me like whether you're Democrat or Republican. I don't know. Going into a state capitol with assault weapons should be fundamentally egregious. I mean, and especially to the right side of the political spectrum, who, I mean, the Republicans always stand for state rights, but at the same time, law and order.
Are you fucking kidding me? A bunch of fundamentalist Republicans took over a goddamn state park with assault rifles.
Well, yeah, and they got and wasn't that in your neck of the woods, actually, Allie?
Nah, that was down south of me. That was Portland's problem.
Yeah, but your state, right? But I don't know.
No,
it just seems like if you're a member,
Washington is not Oregon. We agree on a lot of things, but Washington is not Oregon.
I always think you're in fucking Washington. I don't know. I always say
I am in Washington. That happened in Oregon.
Oh fuck yeah. My brain, yo. But I don't know. It should be just egregious to anybody of any political spectrum to walk into a Capitol State building with assault rifles. I mean, that should be just egregious. That should just be like a no-brainer.
Why would
you don't fucking do that. They talk about us protesting.
If you're a peaceful protester, why the fuck do you need the rifle, dude?
Like, they talk about Antifa all the time, and they destroy property, or, they punch a Nazi. Like, motherfucker, you're going in the state capitol with an assault rifle. The same people talking about Antifa. And the same people trying to pass laws that would make it legal to run over a protester if they're in the street. Or take the right of Native Americans to protest against big oil and pipelines. Like, where is this? Is there even a line anymore?
Well, Doubting Thomas makes a great point. That's not nearly as bad as Kaepernick taking a knee, for fuck's sake.
That's what the same people that talk. I can't tell you how many arguments I've been in. How many friends I've lost over Colin Kaepernick, and talking to them and just being like, "Dude, what's wrong with you?"
That's my neck of the woods right there. I am so proud of him.
I mean, I didn't even like him as a football player until he took that knee. He was too good. I mean, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Fuck him. He don't play for the Lions, But when he took that knee, man, I got instant respect for him because whether you agree with his statement or not, he lost everything but gained the world, I guess would be the best way to put it. I think he found a little bit of his soul, maybe, if there is such a thing. And if there is such a thing, I believe it comes from the brain. That's a different night and a different discussion. I'm sorry, I'm grabbing my microphone, so it's probably off fucking everything up. But what happened today, like when they were in front of Gretchen Whitmer's house, her personal house, that was bad. That was really bad to me. That was you're standing in front of a sitting governor's house, and they're trying to recall her now for trying to save lives, right? And she has saved lives. Could have been a lot worse.
So,
but they
we've
were in
got
front of
two-
her house, Allie, and now today they walked into the state capitol with their guns. I can't go into the courthouse without going through a metal detector. How the fuck did that happen?
Well, I'm going to go ahead really quickly and shill for 2 seconds. We got 27 people and 13 likes, y'all. If you've got a second, could you feed the algorithm for us, please? We are really trying to grow the channel and getting demonetized.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've raged out. I haven't allowed myself to just let go in quite a while.
Well, and we've been engaging with the chat. We've got two really good points in the chat right now. One of them is Rilla, reminding you that they blocked the fucking hospital entrances, which last time we streamed about this, we raged about for quite a while.
According to right-wingers, that's been debunked, and it hasn't happened. You know, it's funny, like, when right-wingers say something has been debunked,
there are
it hasn't
pictures.
been, right? But when
there are pictures of fucking, doctors,
it literally
confronting
happened,
them.
But they say it didn't happen. And because they say it didn't happen, half the country thinks it didn't fucking happen.
But coming back,
I'll be right back. I'm gonna check on my daughter. She's been up and down with her sugar, so I'm just making sure she's like conscious and shit. I'll be right back.
That's fine. So, Shay points out, Proud Boys Patriot AR are getting funded by Betsy DeVos. I have not seen that in the news, but of course, you know. However, I have seen that Michigan is the only state where a Proud Boy actually does serve in the government. So, there's that. The Proud Boys apparently did rally in Florida outside of the Miami Museum of Art. And they also did a flag rave in Oregon to protest the social distancing measures. So, yeah, those are the two big things that I knew about already. I'm looking into the news and such for that. It looks like what I'm reading is that the Proud Boys and other far right groups that are against LGBTQ issues have started to bring anti-LGBT stuff into those protests, but I would not be surprised if they were at the head of them.
All right, I'm back, but I'll be right back. So talk for like 1 more minute.
So, the doctors were crisis actors. Yeah, Shay, like, the level of cognitive dissonance that the right must deal with on a daily basis, like, boggles my fucking mind. Rilla points out there were aerial pictures from helicopters. Marvin Manistar says, don't take anything that is considered a weapon into public buildings, and don't take weapons to protest. Just take one person to get mad and kill someone. And you don't even have to have a weapon at protest for someone to get mad and kill somebody. Like, at the Unite the Right rally, they ran over the protest, other protester.
There's no reality with these people. So, like, I'm showing in my Protect the Sacred series, and I'm serious. I'm not just shilling myself. Even before I became demonetized, I did not monetize these videos. These videos are just to show you what happens, the difference. Like, Native Americans protested peacefully. No weapons, no violence. They used prayer from their religion. It wasn't the Christian religion, but it was peaceful, prayerful protest. And yet the police still said that they had weapons, that they were shooting those weapons, and that they were a fucking threat to their community. And yet, these white folks can walk into the state capital of Michigan with fucking loaded assault rifles. That's a problem.
So, Knock, apparently the Proud Boys have somebody in your guys' legislature.
It wouldn't surprise me.
They have an actual Proud Boys member in your legislature.
Like, Allie, we've talked about it. Like, this state has become more and more right since when I moved here, it was truly a purple state. I'm surrounded by Trumpers and crazy people now. It's scary. Like I moved here to get away from that shit, and now I'm surrounded by it again. It's like I see people with Confederate flags, and I have to remind them, like, Michigan was approached by the Confederacy, and Michigan's response to that Confederacy is we would never join a bunch of traitors. And now I see Michiganders flying that flag everywhere. It's disgusting, and they defend it.
Well, apparently Mike Detmer from your state took a selfie with the Proud Boys during their part in the anti-COVID protests 2 weeks ago.
Like, I've joked about coming to Washington. Like, I'm serious. Like, as soon as as soon as my daughter is of the age to where I can leave Michigan, we're leaving. Because I didn't move here for this. I moved here to get away from it. And now I've lost all my family. The only thing holding me here is Michigan law, telling me that I can't move without the permission of my daughter's mom. I have custody, but I can't leave the state of Michigan without her permission until my daughter turns 16, I believe.
Yeah, and that's a hard time to move. As somebody who moved when she was 16, like that's a hard fucking time to move.
You know, I don't want to do it, but I'm thinking about it because I didn't move here for this shit, and I don't want her to grow up surrounded by this shit.
Having been to Michigan, everything is better here. Just saying.
I mean, you got weed there, so I mean that's the only good thing about Michigan now is we got weed.
Yeah, we got weed here too, and you can like walk into a grocery store basically and get it.
You got
like
health,
not an actual grocery store, but they're
there,
everywhere.
You know, like I don't have health insurance here.
Yeah, you're with your income, you would qualify for Apple Health here, so you'd have health insurance.
Actually, my income actually fluctuates. It depends on what I decide to do at the time. Like,
do you make more than $35,000 a year?
Well, that depends on what I decide to do at the time. Me and you have talked. You know, once the economy kicks back up, I'm going to go back into my old field, and I'll make a lot more money. I chose not to do that because my legs don't like me to do that. But I think I got 4 or 5 more years to where I could pull it off with a lot of pain, you know, and I'm going to do it, you know, because fuck, why not? Might as well use what years left I have before my legs get cut off.
You are a stubborn jackass, Knock. I love you to death.
I was raised in the South, man. Work yourself to death. I'm part of this capitalist society that they raised. I speak against it, but I'm still enslaved to it.
Well, you know I've got 2 herniated fucking discs because of my work ethic, so whatever. Like, they're still herniated because of my work ethic is the point, because I wouldn't do the shit I was supposed to do. I did all the stretches and shit, but, like, I kept doing things I wasn't supposed to do. I kept making videos and doing other stuff, and, yeah, now I'm paying for it.
People always think, like, I talk, like, I lie or some shit about my life, and if you don't think I'm, like, if you think I'm being hyperbolic when I say, like, cut off my legs, no, like, I've probably got 6 years to where that becomes a real possibility, at least for my right leg. And I've made videos about it, and I've showed my right leg. I've shown everybody, you know, not a lot of people watch those videos, but it's called The Atheist Story. You can find it if you look for it. I show everything. About to show y'all some shit tomorrow. You know, I don't hide nothing about myself. I think that's what's beautiful about me. I've embraced all of the good and all of the bad. I am who I am, and I shit on trolls.
Well, I mean, as far as new stuff goes, though, like, why the fuck do these people feel the need? Like, let's actually have a psychological conversation for a second. What reason would you have to openly carry a fucking gun at a peaceful protest inside of a goddamn government building, if not for terrorist intimidation? Because I'm going to argue that is a form of terrorism.
Why would you do that and then argue against Antifa punching a fucking Nazi? Like, that's the thing I just can't wrap my head around, Ali, is that these same people are the ones arguing against Antifa punching a fucking Nazi, which should be, like, the most American thing ever, right? Like, that, I mean, for these Americans, punching a Nazi should be, like, wet dream material. And yet they don't like that. I don't get it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, seriously, I would make the argument that what they are doing is terrorism. And what was done in Portland was also terrorism.
Terrorism, inciting violence, threats against public officials, right? Like, I mean, I don't, like I said, like, I can't walk to the courthouse here in Battle Creek, Michigan without taking my belt off, all my change out my pocket. If I have my lighter, you gotta put that in the basket because that metal detector is gonna buzz off the fucking roof. How does that not happen in the state capitol? I don't understand how those protesters got in there unless the governor was like, you know, it would be worse for me not to let them in because she feels so intimidated by these people at this point. They're literally trying to recall her for saving lives.
Isn't that kind of the point of terrorism, is to intimidate the living fuck out of people into political change?
I can't understand unless she had to allow it, right? I mean, that's the only way you get in that building with those weapons.
I mean, either that or the open carry legislation bars her from being able to prevent it.
But I mean, they can't carry him into a courthouse. I can't even like I said, I have to take off my fucking belt. You can't take your cell phones in there. You know, police can't take their guns in there. I don't know, man. I don't know how this happened today, but it fucking happened. I mean, it happened.
Right, yeah, Rilla points out you can't take a crochet hook into our courthouse. Rilla, I'm wondering if that comes out of personal experience that you happen to know that. But no, like, and you know, you can't even take that stuff on, you know, into an airport or something like that either. Right? Like, why should you be allowed to take it into?
These are Republicans. They stand for state rights and governor power, right? Governor power over the power of the presidency. That's Republican. That's what they stand for. Small government, state rights. Where are they now? They're the ones with their assault rifles.
Well, you want to know part of the reason for that, though, Knock. Here's another range. A state government is a lot easier to intimidate than the federal government. The federal government has the might of the military behind it. The state government does not.
You know, this is what I wanted to talk about when I said we're doing current events.
So if you're talking about small government, well, what's one of the motivations behind that? Well, if you walk into a courthouse, you know, a modern day, like, a state Congress with fucking assault rifles in an open carry state, well, you're going to intimidate the fuck out of that tiny ass government, aren't you?
Yeah, it's wrong on every level, right? Like, so activism should be peaceful, right? If you're going to use that right you have to demonstrate against your government, it should be peaceful unless you're in like a fucking revolution. And clearly, and we've seen this. Like, this isn't new. You know, when Hillary was going to win, remember what they said. Remember what Trump said. And he's already started kind of going there again about my Second Amendment rights. People will take care of that. And I saw the memes about how they would rise against us and kill us liberals. I saw that. My dad posted a meme, and I had to remind him, Dad, your sons are liberals, right? Like, it's this country. There's a sickness in this country, and it affects everything. It affects everything, and it's a man sickness. Men have too much fucking testosterone, and they have small penises, so they need very big guns. And I said it, and I don't regret saying it. You got a small penis, dog. Live with it.
Well, and besides that, Shay keeps bringing up the DeVos involvement with the protests. Apparently, Whitmer actually called out Betsy DeVos for the fact that she was funding several of the groups that were involved with creating the protests.
That family has ruined Michigan politics for decades. That family got very wealthy with Michigan. They have taken from Michigan and taken and taken and taken, and now they take from the world. Don't trust me. Just look at Eric Prince's activities. If you actually looked at them, if you can actually find anything on him, you'll be disgusted. But Betsy DeVos, what she did and her family did to the education system here in Michigan for 20 years, ruined it, destroyed it, crushed it. Now she's doing it on a national level. You don't want to get me started on the DeVos family. The hospital I take my daughter to for her diabetes is a DeVos hospital. It's a DeVos hospital. And I swallow vomit every time I step in that building.
Well, yeah, and, you know, like, it's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Especially because a lot of these people, and I grew up, like, I talk about my upbringing. My upbringing's fucking weird, all right? Like, I spent the first 5 years of my life.
I said that
Britain.
shit, Allie. My daughter's probably going to lose everything tomorrow. I mean, that's how vindictive these fuckers are. Like, I kind of regret saying that shit.
But, like, you know, my upbringing's fucking weird, right? Like, I spent the first 5 years of my life in Britain. And then when my mom got me back, and I came back here, my little sister was born probably the next year after that. And, like, for the next, say, I want to say 7 or 8 years, I lived in Magnolia. And
Yeah.
anybody who knows anything about Seattle, Magnolia is rich as motherfuck. I lived in the only, like, tiny ass Section 8 apartment complex in that area. And it's gone now, by the way. But I went to a school with the, like, daughter of the head of the Seattle Post Intelligencer, the Seattle PI, and the daughter of a head banker, and these were two of my best friends. Like, I would go to friends' houses for sleepovers, and they had private motherfucking beaches and houses with 4 or 5 floors. Like, massive fucking mansions. And I would hear their parents
some of my
talk
best friends,
about the
like,
rest of us.
Some of my best friends lived in this community called Bermuda Run. We hosted the Crosby Golf Tournament every year. You might have heard about it. That's when I talk about meeting Michael Jordan and Barry Sanders and Isaiah Thomas, I think I've talked about that shit before. That's where I met him. It's because I lived in fucking Whiteville, America, rich ass America, and all the rich people came there once a year to play golf, and we got to meet them motherfuckers.
Well, and for me, I grew up poor in the richest neighborhood in Seattle, which was the weirdest experience ever. And then when we moved to Covington when I was 12, I grew up, like, my stepfather got a promotion and we bought our first house, and I ended up living on the top of the hill, like, in the richer part of a poor town, which was really weird. So I was, like, middle class for the rest of my life in a really poor area, and my education suffered because of it. But coming back to that, like, I used to hear how the people in Magnolia would talk, and, like, bribes to the press were extremely fucking common. Like, they would talk about business people when I would stay at my friend's whose, dad was the head of the PI. Like, they would talk about, like, the people who would try to cut off stories and stuff and would, attempt to bribe them. They would talk about themselves spending money on campaigns, and they would talk about it like it was an investment.
Well, we saw this with the Me Too movement, and I can't remember his name right now, but Ronan, whatever his name is, that broke that story for the New Yorker. He had teams upon teams of very powerful people investing in shutting him down and stopping that story from breaking. Harvey Weinstein only being one of them. We also know the depths to which Epstein went to hide his crimes. Yeah, I think this is very common practice. These rich people abuse the money and power that they have. Not all. I'm not delusional to where I think that all rich people are evil, but I think money and power corrupts, and I think that we see it on almost every level.
I think that there's a certain level of empathy that dies when you've never been exposed to lack. I think that growing up poor, I learned the hard way how important it is to help each other.
I've seen people born into lives of privilege, like real privilege, right? Like never had to worry, can do whatever the fuck they want. I talk about, one of my best friends, my crime partner, he wrecked like 4 BMWs before he was 17 years old. His parents just kept buying him a new one. Most people don't know what that's
There's
like,
a certain
right?
lack
Like,
of,
most people don't understand that kind of lifestyle. Like they don't.
There's a certain lack of consequence, right? You wreck a BMW, like, if you were middle class and you worked your ass off for months and months and months, and you wreck that fucking BMW, that's gonna hurt. If you wreck it and then you just get a new one, you don't learn anything.
Yeah, like, we literally drove a BMW off of Mountain Cliff on acid one day. And he's like, fuck it, dude. As long as it makes it back to Davie, we're good.
But, like, what I was trying to explain there was, having grown up on both sides of that to a certain degree and having been around these people, I can say with confidence that at least the ones that I was around, they don't speak with empathy about us. Like, I heard them shit-talking my parents, among other things.
You want to hear a funny thing about rich people?
They don't see us as human.
Almost every rich person's house I've been in, and I've been in quite a few, they don't clean. So when the maids aren't around, I mean, them motherfuckers is nasty. They don't clean shit. You come to my house, you can eat dinner off the fucking floor.
Yeah, by the way, Marvin...
I gotta troll Dr. Brian Oblivion one last time tonight. I'm sorry, Ali. You've been calling me Ronnie. I'm gonna feed you guys. I'm gonna feed you guys just a little bit. It's Ronnie Earl. And if you've been around long enough, you might have heard Earl before. That's where that shit comes from. So if you're going to use Ronnie, might as well just call me Ronnie Earl, because I've hated that shit my entire life. And you can really trigger me good, probably. I might go off a little bit more if you call me Ronnie Earl.
By the way, Dr. Oblivion, my household makes about $105,000 a year. I am middle class, and I ain't disgusted by him. Fuck off.
Dude, he thinks that I'm like this. I am poor, I guess. I'm poor.
You're blue collar. You're blue fucking collar. You're the
what
same
I
with
am
us.
is I'm a person that has pretty much everything I want. I was a little freaked out for quite a while because I lost my job, and I do need my job to survive. Unemployment just hit today. It took a long time for unemployment because I had never filed for unemployment before. Never, because I'm a worker. I work, Dr. Brian Oblivion. If you're a doctor, I don't know, maybe you just don't really understand what work is anymore. A lot of doctors work, but maybe you're one of those doctors that just sit on your ass and type on a computer and talk out of your asshole. But I work, and I had never filed for unemployment before. You don't know me, dude. Like, you don't know what I go through, and you don't know the choices I've made. Now, I've been very honest about my choices in life. I'm kind of a fuck up. I'm vocal about it. I give no fucks about it. And I can shit on you because I'm bigger than you. And I can do that. My shits are bigger than you because you're just a fucking troll with a keyboard. That's all you are. You will never come on here and talk to me because you're a puss. And I shit on pusses. So I shit on you, sir.
Actually, he claims that he would speak with you. So you know what? If you guys want to have a debate, I'll moderate. But I will answer, Sir Marvin Manister.
I'm having fun tonight, man. This shit's been fun. I don't even want to fucking end.
So, Sir Marvin Manister, in Covington, Washington. It's a tiny little town outside of Kent. It's gotten a lot bigger in recent years, but when I grew up in it was a fucking forest.
Usually I'm like, Allie, stop talking to the chat.
Well, a lot of the time it's because we've got an interview or something going, or we've got an actual topic. Today we were just like, hey, let's just shoot the shit and talk about the news and get mad.
Yeah, and I've done that successfully. It's been a while. I guess I should announce. I mean, I actually invested in making this channel better. I got some new toys coming. So I think shit's gonna get a lot better, very, very soon. Because I got some.
Well, and we've got some potentially high profile guests that we're going to be bringing on pretty soon, and we've also got Nervardia who wants to come back on to talk about something that isn't Mr. Richards.
Maddie's going to come back on. We're going to talk nuclear energy again. We've got so many good shows lining up. I'm actually really excited. Apostate Alliance is fucking hot, dude. Everybody that's watching Apostate Alliance is excited. I'm excited. We got good shit happening here. The haters going to hate. But I shit on those haters.
The inaugural episode of Secular Literary Circle did pretty damn well, too.
Yeah, I mean, shit's working out. Shit's working out. It's going to get better.
Well,
You see the numbers, Ali. I know you see the numbers. All of our numbers are like fucking really starting to get back to where I wanted them to be ever since I changed my name to Nakasuchi for some reason.
Well, and I think the rebrand to The Rage really represents what the channel has become. But we've got such a diversity of content. We got fans for each of our shows.
And it's close enough to what it's always been, right? I mean, it's close, and then you still got my ass here talking shit.
Well, and, Hamable brings up a good point, guys. $105,000 a year. I don't know if y'all know what cost of living is up here in Washington, but if you live in King County, that ain't fuck. Like, we live as paycheck to paycheck as Knock does.
Yeah, maybe one of these days I'll actually share what I make every year. That'll be fun.
If you guys think that $105,000 ain't middle class, you don't live in Washington. Just saying. If you live on the west side of Washington, anywhere near fucking Seattle, I will put it to you guys this way. A 2-bedroom apartment, the lowest rent, like within 5 miles of me, is $1,900 a month.
Holy shit. How the fuck do you live?
We bought a house right after the 2008 crash, and our mortgage is only $1,700 a month.
my rent is $720, and that includes almost all of my bills. I got to pay for electric, and that includes internet too, right?
Yeah, like our bills, I think,
And
come out to about.
it's not in the hood. It's actually a good place to live. It's decent. It's not bad.
Yeah, if you live a little further out from where my husband works, you can get a much cheaper rent. You can get it down to like 1,200, 1,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. But like in my area, which is over near where my husband works, like within commuting distance, it's fucking expensive to live here. $105,000 a year is not that much. But our minimum wage is also $13.50 an hour, and it'll be up to $15 an hour next year. So like our cost of living is higher, but our wages are too.
Shit, man. Republicans have ruined Michigan. We're an at-will state, so if you don't know what an at-will state means, that means an employer can fire you for any reason at any time, unquestionable. You mentioned the word union. You're fired. I mean, we've got fucking weapons in Walmart now. I mean, this state has gone straight fucking crazy. I've sat here and witnessed the takeover of the fundamentals, right? Like, I mean, that's what I've
Move
witnessed
to
here in
Ann
Michigan.
Arbor. Move to Ann Arbor.
All the rich people live in Ann Arbor, and I don't get along well with rich people anymore. They don't like me very much because I speak my mind.
But like coming back
Sir
to
Marvin, I know a little bit of the native language, but no, my mother never taught us that. She always said we were like olive skin and white people. And I actually found Native American spirituality in prison. And when I started talking about that, that's when she started telling me about our ancestry. But she was actually really ashamed of it. She was a Christian, and she wanted to be white. I love my mother. I'm not talking shit about her, but that's the truth of it.
Yeah, and as far as language goes, growing up, my great aunt and my great grandma actually taught me a bit of Haida. And by taught me, I mean my great grandma mostly only spoke Haida, so my great aunt kind of started to teach me a bit so I could understand her. My mother doesn't speak it. My grandmother spoke a little bit, but my aunts and uncles, for the most part, are kind of like what you were talking about with your family. Other than one of my aunts who lives all the way out in Sequim, most of our family has kind of just become white-ish, at least in terms of religious affiliation and such, culture-wise. However, one of the things that I've noticed is that in terms of culture, like my uncle gets his hunting license every year. He'll go out and he'll catch everything he possibly can and shoot everything he can. He'll dry it all as jerky or can it with my other aunt who lives in Sequim. And they will send that, like a portion of it, out to the entire family. And other things that are very, very native in like
I'm
the way
back. I went and checked on my daughter, and I thought I should probably explain better. So when I found my Native American spirituality, I actually lived on the reservation in Cherokee, North Carolina for a while studying shamanism. I was studying to be a medicine man. I lived that lifestyle for about 3.5 years. And as I lived that lifestyle, I was speaking with my mother, learning about my heritage. And I believe it was in 2004, I registered with the Cherokee tribe, and I had enough blood to get my card. It's around here somewhere. Maybe one of these days I'll make a video and actually show it because I like to be transparent.
Hey, Shay, leave the troll alone.
Don't leave the troll alone. Well, yeah, let the troll talk, but troll the troll.
Yeah, Shay timed out the troll.
Yeah, we really want the trolls to have their voice again, because I enjoy it. I do get my kicks off of it. I forgot how much I enjoyed it, and I really want people to feel free to come in and talk shit. I want to do this more. We need to do this more, Allie. Interact with the chat. Let the trolls be trolls so I can fucking respond to them. This is brilliant. Now, if we have a guest, I'm not saying time them out, but I just never pay attention to the chat in those streams. So this was good. It's been a long time since I've actually really looked at the chat.
Well, and to answer the accusation, I'm not a motherfucking Kiwi, dude. I live in Washington. I grew up part of my life in Britain and part of my life here.
What the fuck's a Kiwi?
New Zealand.
What?
Kiwi is New Zealand, Aussie is Australian.
Why do they call New Zealanders Kiwi?
Ask Nervardia. Or actually, ask Gaelic Knox.
I don't.
They would know.
I'm such a just like American, I guess. I don't know these things.
But the point is, guys, I'm not a motherfucking Kiwi. If anything, I'm a Brit whose whose like accent got corrupted. Because like if you can ask not when I'm comfortable. Apparently, he keeps saying that I'm a fake native, and I'm like, dude, no, I'm not. I'm like Canadian. I'm Canadian American. I'm like British on my dad's side. Like my accent is fucked because I lived here so long.
I don't understand why white people have to say that. Like I understand why Native American people say it because as I've spoken.
Well, because we're protecting ourselves.
Well, and as I've spoken, like there's actual attempts against their bloodlines trying to eradicate their culture and their DNA because treaties and all of that shit, and America likes to pretend that they uphold them when they don't. But I don't get why white people care. Like I really don't. I don't get why you care. Like seriously, even say I'm just all white, and I just talk about Native American issues. What's wrong with that? More people should be. But I don't really hide myself. Like I don't give a fuck what you think. I am who I am. I'm Nakasuchi. I'm the little bear. I'll fucking rage out on you, and I'll go take a shit when this is done.
Well, and like when I do the American/Canadian accent, like I do that because I'm getting sick of people accusing me of being from Australia because my British is corrupted.
I really think some white people get really intimidated when other white people talk about white people, and they don't like it. And or if they talk about like I guarantee you, like almost all white people in this country, America, if you're in America, you probably got some color in you somewhere. And you need to realize you're not really white. You're American. And we're all American.
Well, and besides that, I'm going to remind the chat, look, not all fucking Native Americans look like Cherokees. Not all Native Americans look like Navajos. Not all of us are fucking
like,
red.
They don't understand, like, during the No to Apple protest, we had over 200 tribes. It was over 250, I believe, like 268, something like that, tribes came together. And a lot of those tribes were from Canada, and a lot of those tribes were from Mexico. And, we had white folks with French ancestries, and they had motherfucking...
Okay, what's the point? Okay, what's the point? I'm assuming you're probably Brian Oates. Shay already said that it was an accident to time you out. Like, she apparently didn't mean to.
Shit happens, but, I mean, get over it. I mean, come on. All right, we got 8 minutes. We're going to wind this up. Is there... Let me look at my notes. Do you have any last, like, quick issue you want to talk about?
Well, there was actually one positive bit of news that I wanted to cover. There was a church over in, I want to say it was Birmingham, that actually decided to purchase some COVID tests, and they ran a program through their church where people of color could come and get COVID testing.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about that. That and that it's good to point out those good examples, especially if we're gonna point out like people like fuckface down in Louisiana. There's a lot of Christians doing the right thing. So yeah, continue, please.
Yeah, so basically what happened was this particular church noticed that in Alabama there was a massive disparity in who was getting tests because, well, it's fucking Alabama. And that people of color, largely with, COVID symptoms, were not getting tested. So what they did was they partnered up with a local hospital, purchased a bunch of tests with church funds, donated $10,000 to the hospital, brought some doctors and nurses over in full gear, and created a mobile testing station in their church for folks who had flu-like symptoms to go and get screened and get COVID testing.
Yeah, I really like it when I see the churches doing the right thing, and the churches in this community here have, and they've been doing like similar things. It's not so much testing, but a lot of churches here in Battle Creek have actually been passing out like food. Like you can come there and you can get like a school lunch or something, or they'll even give you like take home, put in your oven dinners and shit. And a lot of people have been taking part of that. I haven't. I'm like better than I've ever been on food, because usually we eat terrible, but we actually have food in the house. But a lot of people have taken advantage of that, and that's a lot of churches in this community doing that. And I just want to give props to churches doing the right thing, because you should be, and you should be the examples. Unfortunately, the bad ones are kind of overshadowing the good things that are happening as well.
Also, Mr. Sidekin, det är just saying.
I have
Anyway.
no idea what that is.
It's in Haida. Go look it up. It's in Haida. Go look it up.
Well, and just one last note on the whole Native American issue. I actually hold Native Americans to account as well. I've done deep dives into what happens on reservations. I've talked about Native American racism towards white people. I'm a fair interlocutor with everything. I'm a white dude that has some Native American blood. I'm very passionate about what goes on with the Native American culture and the peoples, and I think everybody should be. And that's why I put out videos that half of the people that watch my videos don't watch, because I think it's that important.
Yeah, and what I said was actually nice-ish. But it's kind of a cheeky middle finger in Haida, the way that I said it. But anyway, that's all tone and nuance, and I'm gonna get stuck in a Haida accent if I talk in it too much.
Well, I mean, I had fun tonight. Like this, it's been a while since we've just chilled out and talked some shit, and I was able to just rage out, probably sometimes for no reason. But that's what I used to do. I want to get back more to it. We are going to have an open room on Sunday. Let me find the topic.
I believe you told me this morning that the topic was going to be like religious harm.
No. How do we move forward against Christian nationalism? That's the topic.
Yes.
So,
which, I mean, is an incredibly important topic.
CK Blackwood is going to be joining us for that conversation. I promised Puffaluffagus a spot, so if you would like to join that conversation, Puff, you have a spot, which would leave 2 spots open. I would really hope for a Christian to come on, especially a Christian nationalist. I mean, that would be beautiful. If you're a Christian nationalist out there and you want to defend that position, well, please come on. And if you do come on, then Allie will jump into her moderator role, and we'll give you every ample opportunity to speak.
Mm-hmm. And, keep in mind, I am a fair moderator. I moderated a room where it was just knock against 4 other Christians. So...
I want to do that again, but I get accused of, trying to stage dumpster fires when I do that shit. But I like giving Christians a chance to team up on me.
You were trying to stage a dumpster fire.
Well, I was, but I like, because especially back then, you remember how it was. We were ganging up on Christians. So I wanted to give Christians a chance to gang up on me. And I want to do that again, but I get... I do like the dumpster fires. I don't deny that shit.
And Dr. Brian Oblivion, if you want some dedicated one-on-one time with Knock when we're not doing a Just Us show that we declared to be a Just Us show, guess what? You can set that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
Knock's email is da.ragingatheist@gmail.com. I will see it too and make sure he answers it. If you
Allie will make sure I answer you. Sometimes things slip through the cracks, but usually when she's watching for it, she'll let me know. And I'm totally open to that. Come on, we'll do a one-on-one. I've done one-on-ones with Dark Dawkins. I'm not afraid of you, dog.
Yeah, so if you want to do a one-on-one with me just moderating, which, again, if I'm a moderator, I'm fucking fair. Go watch past streams where I moderated debates. I told Knock to shut up to let Misha fucking Nazi speak.
If you want a chance to speak, you might want Allie there, because I'm rage, y'all. If it's me and you, it might not be pretty.
Okay, don't fucking trust me, dude. If you're coming on here, I'm going to be moderating so you get to talk.
We'll do that shit, yo. I mean, I have other moderators. Would you like an atheist moderator? Would you like John Peterson to be here? I don't know what you want. I mean, I don't know what you want. I'll give you what you want. I'm just trying to help you, dog. Because if it's just me and you, it's just me and you. And I like that. I really like that.
So, yeah, if you want to...
I'm not afraid. All right, no. Now it's got to be just me and you.
All right.
Now it's gotta be just me and you, dog. All right. Don't be a bitch. Email me, or I'll talk about it. I will, because I don't like cowards.
All right. So, Dr. Brian Oblivion, I put his email in the chat there. If he doesn't answer you immediately, then I'll let him know.
I challenge you now. Please come. And then after you're done coming, come on my channel.
Alright, so I guess this is going to be the two of you rather than a rage stream. That said, anybody who does want to come on for the Christian nationalism stream, we are opening it up.
I will just make you. I won't let you talk. I'll override you because I'm a strong personality. But I mean, I do lose sometimes. I'm not one of these fuckers that'll be like I've never lost a debate. If you beat me, I'll give you credit.
Bro, Knock fucking sat there for 2.5 hours while I ripped his asshole open with a spoon. Like, legit. Like, I basically told him all the ways he lost his fucking debate, and he sat there and he took it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't run away from defeats. You know, I straight up admit Darth Dawkins handled me the first time he came in my room. I had no idea who he was. Didn't know who I was talking to. People in the chat were trying to tell me, it's Darth Dawkins, dude. And I'm like, who the fuck is this evolution false motherfucker talking mad shit? Come on in here. No, I do not believe in whatever the fuck I said I did not believe in. It was kind of crazy. But I didn't know. I learned. So come on in here. I have fun with those situations because I get to cuss out a motherfucking troll. I love it.
So yeah, guys, like if you know what, Knock's willing to go in without it, but like if you don't have me here, I ain't gonna guarantee that you're gonna be able to talk because he'll shout over you. That's what he does.
It's what I do.
Like he brought me on this channel so he'd stop doing that. Like I'm the shoulder angel for a reason.
But come on in here, dog. Duh Raging Atheist, DA Raging Atheist at gmail.com. And we will make this a motherfucking show. It's been a while since I've had a dumpster fire. I'm looking forward to it. I've seen your comments. I've seen your fucking trolls. This will be fun. Don't be a bitch. We're going to get out of here, though. Any last words?
Well, my last words are, like Dr. Brian Oblivion, if you're fucking serious, get the hell out of our comment section and into your email. I will make damn sure he sees the email and replies, because I'm basically his secretary, so.
Yeah, and I love that this was a chat stream. You know, we said it was current events, we talked some current events, but I needed to interact with my friends. I want to thank everybody for being here. This was fucking awesome. I haven't just let loose in a while. And you all know that I'm Ronnie Earl now, so if I come out with an Earl video, you know where that shit comes from.
All right, Knock. Have a great time. Have a great night, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We had a pretty consistent audience through all of our rambling. Like, we talked about absolutely nothing in particular for most of this, and, you know, we had over 20 people that stuck with us, so thanks, guys.
I really want to I want to send an appreciation to the moderators for being on board with allowing more. You know, shit happens. I'm not mad. Don't worry about it. We are making a concerted effort to allow people to speak in our chats, and I want to have more fun with people again like I used to. So yeah, I think that's going to only help the channel and help people want to come here and interact. And Dr. Brian, all jokes aside, I will give you your chance to make your statement before I rage the fuck out. I do try to be fair. I let Darth speak for a little while. So we are going to get out of here, guys. I want to thank you all. I want to thank my patrons. I want to thank the new patron, I'm sorry, Wilson, who isn't on the screen yet. I will make sure that I change that screen tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean within the next 2.5 weeks. You know, history.
All right, all right, guys, and even when you're talking to the opposition, remember, be the conversation.
I will try to make it tomorrow, though. I will. And yes, be the conversation.